good political inclusion, better healthcare, reduction of the cost of living were some of the things we were promised in tomorrow. We were so excited about the hope we had been fed with about tomorrow. But days went by, years went by, and tomorrow never came. Turned out there was never really a plan for tomorrow. It was all a lie to keep us in their mental slavery. Because with each day that goes by, I see my country being stripped of her glory. But we know better now. We are more aware now. It is time to take our country back from these hijackers who keep recycling themselves. If this tomorrow must come, we will have to create it ourselves. But this time, with someone we can trust. Someone who understands our pain. And so I call on every Nigerian youth. Come 2023, come out and vote. Because our vote is our power. When you vote, vote for a man we can trust. Vote for a breath of fresh air. Vote Atiku Abubakar for president.
Guys, good morning and welcome to another beautiful time out here on your favorite morning show, Every Woman on AtikuLive. I'm excited to have you guys join me on today's episode. My name is Tiana Ward-Barcy, and of course I have with me Aija as usual.
Hi guys, good morning. You look lovely. I told her she looks like the woman in yellow, obviously.
Thank you, IJ. So IJ, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm okay.
It's good to know you're okay. Today we're talking about something very interesting, and I actually would like this. I actually love this topic because I want to learn more from it, and that is our basic focus is technology. Basically, we have a series, like we said last week, that we're going to be looking at this for the next 4 Tuesdays in September. I mean, we're looking at the forthcoming campaigns starting for 2023 elections. So we're going to be looking at this women in politics. But today we're focusing on the role of technology in Nigeria and, of course, how it affects the forthcoming elections. We've seen that every sector in Nigeria has actually evolved over the years. When we're talking about fashion, we said fashion had evolved over the years. Likewise, technology. You know, when we look at the statistics from NBS between 1995 to 2001, we had over 400,000 registered mobile users. SIM users like MTN and all of that. But it has evolved over the years, and we have over millions of people. Everybody is actually on their phone. Everybody has a registered SIM. And these days, that's even grown beyond just having one SIM. Like, people have more than one SIM. You see people who use MTN, Glo, and Nine Mobile, and the rest of them. So it has grown. This sector has actually evolved. And interestingly, in 2020, during the COVID-19, when we realized that every other sector shut down, the mobile sector, the technological sector in Nigeria still grew. We had a massive increase in that area, and it contributed massively to Nigeria's economy. So I'm interested, and breaking it down to every woman. Of course, we discuss about women. We're talking about issues that affect women across all sectors. So let us bring technology down to women. How has women been involved in technology? This is before we even look into politics. How has women been involved in technology over the years?
Well, I think, like you said, this is a very, very interesting topic, moving towards the campaign. And I mean, it's just for us to understand how much technology in itself has played, you know, for politics and all. I mean, that number you gave, I mean, that's really a lot. A lot of people, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is on their phones now, their personal phones. 32.9 million people are actually on social media in Nigeria, out of 211 million, which it seems like a little number, but I mean, these are the figures that are out there. I don't know how many percent of this are females, but we have this number of people. That's a huge crowd. That's a lot of people, that on social media, that you have opportunities to reach through social media, and that's just social media. I know that information technology, in particular, information and communication technology, has played a lot in how politicians, interact with the people. Yeah. We've seen a candidate recently
that is leveraging on that.
Yes, leveraging on technology. It only goes to show you how much we can do with technology, how much that is still yet to be exploited. And it's just unfortunate that I think we've not really exploited that avenue to the fullest. We've not really picked out everything that we can. I mean, it's good to know. I mean, we're on AtikuLive right now. This is the digital platform. We're actually taking advantage of these opportunities, leveraging on the opportunities that we have, that technology has afforded us to really push out messaging. And as to its role in politics, I would say that, a lot hasn't been done as much as, can be done. I was talking with somebody, I think yesterday, and the person was, it was an argument, and they were talking about how conventions, before you have a political party, like there are guidelines and regulations and, basically standards that you should follow. And you have to have, one of them is that you have to have had a convention, where everybody comes together and you have a national convention. And somebody was asking if we can't have a virtual convention. Does a virtual convention count? And at this point, there's no provision for that. You can't have a virtual convention. And those are really things that we need to look at, and how this technology now can break down these obvious barriers. Because, for a woman who has obvious constraints, just being a woman, and let's say you're trying to float your own political party, because, why not? You can float your own political party as a woman. You're trying to do that, and you have the obvious constraint of reaching out to people across the 36 states in Nigeria to get them to come together for a convention. And if for somebody who is trying to do this, it's a lot. It's really a lot. You're restricted by funds, by access. There are a lot of things that you cannot do that technology has really afforded us the opportunity to. I feel like we've not taken a lot of advantage, of these opportunities. And then I know we keep talking about poor women representation and how women are not represented enough. And I just understand that we can leverage on, technology to get us the representation that we need. I know I call this man's name a lot, and please forgive me, but Senator Chimaroke Nnamani is on Twitter every other day, engaging with the people. Like, you see him every other day, every weekend. I'm sure that every week, I can be sure of going on a Twitter space and dialoguing with this person. So, it's like every time you go on Twitter, in a week, at least 2-3 times, you're sure of sitting down and dialoguing with a lawmaker. And you don't know the impact this has for, an ordinary citizen, a common man, to be able to talk to a lawmaker who has the opportunity to take some of your issues to the Senate, and you actually have them, preside on these issues. And you know that something that you say, that you communicate in one of these spaces, could eventually translate to become a law. And that's the power, giving power back to the people. And that's something that we've been able to get from technology. So for women, I think this is an avenue that we need to explore. We need to start engaging more. If we say that we're not getting enough representation, and we believe that the power belongs to the people, and the people are the ones that are going to vote us there, then we should engage with them. Take advantage of the opportunities that information and communication technology specifically affords us, and engage with these people. Let them see, what you've done. You can use it to highlight everything that you've done. You can use it to show what you're going to do. You can use it to engage with the masses. You can use it to engage with people and, have them express their concerns. You can use it to canvass for your vote.
So IJ, while you were talking, I think everything still boils down to the basis. When you don't have women who knows how to use some of these platforms, how do you get them involved? How do you get them to use this platforms? Like you talked about Senator Chimaroke, who is always on Twitter. If you have a woman who doesn't even know how to use Twitter,
who doesn't even know how to use our parents are like, "What's up? Let's go on WhatsApp." So it's.
But you can also campaign with WhatsApp.
You can.
You can also campaign.
But
you've seen a lot
of them.
Yes.
I know women that don't know that there's such a thing as WhatsApp status
and WhatsApp groups.
They don't know. I think most of them are champions of WhatsApp groups now, like this older generation. But some of them have no idea that WhatsApp status exists. They have absolutely no idea. They don't know you can block people and all. They don't know all these things. Really.
So I think it still boils down to getting women really involved. When you get in the process of getting women involved, I think that's a process where you get to train them. There's a lot of things that goes in getting women involved in politics. You have to train them. There have to be lots and lots of awareness, creating awareness. You have to teach them. If you don't teach, they wouldn't know. So for a woman who is actually in the rural areas, okay, let's not go down to the grassroots. Let's talk about a woman who is actually a councillor in the local government. I will not be shocked, and I'm sure you will also not be shocked to know that some of these women who are actually counselors do not know how to use most of the social media platforms.
And they don't know how much it exposes them.
You talked about one of the candidates for a political party who's actually leveraging on social media right now. And it's like a massive movement.
Yeah,
it started from social media.
You know, this person started from, groundwork, doing the same things, and but social media opened these things, all of these achievements, to an entirely new audience that had hitherto no idea of what was going on. And that's what we're saying, really. You can be doing your own small thing in one small corner, and only those people in that corner know about what you're doing. So tomorrow you want to vie for another position, move to a larger scale. How do you take that thing you've been able to do in your community or your own local space? How do you take that from that point to the entire world, to the entire country? How do you do that? It's through technology. Really.
I love what you said when you were talking, and that's floating your own political parties. I mean, whoever says a woman can't come out with that. Whoever says a woman can't do stuff that people will be like. I mean, we have women who are successful in technological space. We have women in tech who are doing amazingly well. Do you get? So nobody says a woman cannot stand up. A woman cannot, like Senator Chimaroke. I mean, if we still have women who are like 4% or 6% in the national parliament, how about we engaging, letting these women know that you can use the technology space, you can use social media platforms to engage the public. You can. I feel when you pass a bill, you can also make this bill known to the public.
And you're making this bill for who? The same people you're making this bill for are the same people that are out there. Reach out to them. There's something that it says that the law is not made for man. A man was not made for the law. The law was made for man. So it's important for you to take into consideration the people that you're making these laws for. If they have no need for the laws that you're making, then the laws that you're making are redundant. There's no need for them. So it's important to always carry your constituency, always carry your people along in whatever decision making, because at the end of the day, those are the people that you're going out to represent. I mean, if you're looking at women in politics and the role of technology. So if you're looking at politics specifically, it's supposed to be, all of the activities that revolve around governance, that surround governance, the key players, the results, and we practice democracy in Nigeria, a government for the people, by the people, of the people. So whatever you're doing, it has to be people-centered. If whatever you're doing does not have to do with the people, then you have failed. It is undemocratic.
What you're talking, I think we still have to come back to the women, because we've said it over time on the show that women have a very low representation in politics, and we're looking at 6.6%.
Yeah.
It has even come down to 4.4%.
Now, let me take you up on that. Let me take you up. Now, the same women that we say have very low representation in politics also have very low representation when it comes to STEM. This is why we have a lot of scholarships and fundings and opportunities for women to go into STEM. Yeah. So you think it's not a coincidence that we don't have enough representation for women in STEM, and we don't have enough representation for women in politics? I think there's a correlation.
And this is against the Nigerian constitution that states that everybody has the right to be voted in, to vote and be voted for, irrespective of gender, culture, age, race, or anything. Yeah. You have the right to be voted for. You have the right to be elected. You have the right to vie for a political position, whether you're a woman or you're a man. I mean, so it still brings us down to where we find ourselves. The structure of Nigeria, the structure of Africa, the patriarchal system of Africa.
Well, we've had countries that had this patriarchal system, like Sudan. We had some countries that actually leverage, where the women leverage. I think in Sudan, women leverage on Facebook, on something as simple as Facebook, to
which
get
happens
their
to even be one of the largest social media platforms we have right now.
11 point something billion users on Facebook. That's a huge market. All
right, guys, so we're going to go on a very quick break. We have a guest who will be joining us after the break, so don't go nowhere. Stay with us.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 AtikuLive 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 2022 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1, the temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2, the people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3, the economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done.
Welcome back if you're just joining us. This is Every Woman on AtikuLive. And before we went on the break, we're talking about women in politics and the role of technology. Like I said, we have a guest in the house, and I'm sure he's going to actually elaborate on this topic. We have Marshall Onorede. He's an ICT and EPC consultant. We're so excited to have you. Join us on today's episode.
Good
to see you again.
Good to see you.
I love your dress.
Oh, thank you.
Right, so
Thank you.
I mean, let's the conversation really. We are looking at how we can get more women involved in politics using leveraging on technology. Yeah. So
Okay,
what do you think? Where do you think we've gotten it wrong as women, and where do you think we can improve? Like, how can we get more representation just leveraging on technology?
On technology. I think first off, we need to look at the root causes, the limitations that women face. And from maybe experience or my perspective, I think there's a bit of a social disconnect, because if you look at, I wouldn't want to point fingers, but if you look at a country like Saudi Arabia, just recently women had the rights to drive. Maybe a lot of women are on social media in Saudi Arabia, so you have to look at maybe the religious perspectives and the social perspectives that limit women, not because they don't know how to use technology, but because there are constitutional or social factors that limit them from even trying to use. I mean, you could even get arrested for posting certain pictures on social media. So we need to look at that background and see, first, deal with those issues so there's a level playing field for not just women, but for everybody, in society.
I think in Nigeria, for one, digital literacy for girls is really, really low as compared to the male counterparts. So, I mean, that really buttresses the points that you're trying to make, that for us to even get to that point, we need to start upping our game.
Addressing those underlying issues. Like, I mean, still part of the social issues I'll talk about, because I believe technology is an enabler. Technology does not really, if you're going to move from point A to point B, you need a vehicle. It involves people, process, and technology. So if we don't get people right and we just try to infuse technology, we would not get the right result. If you don't get process right and you just want to jump straight to technology, so it's like it's a combination of technology, process, and people. Technology is there, it's available, at least it's accessible, it's cheap, but there are also limitations of,
It's really accessible. I mean, we're looking at people in the rural communities.
Well, accessibility is subjective. Now, if you look at people in the rural communities, it's about its use case. For me, not in all cases, technology is particularly essential. Like I said, it's essential in all cases anyway, but I talked about the processes rather, the technology and the people. So if for a woman in a remote, say, village that processes cassava, for an instance, there's a type of technology that they need. They don't need maybe possibly social media. They need access to financial technology or inclusion. They need access to data or information on market trends, on agricultural trends, and so on. So we have to be specific on what type of technology, because sometimes technology can be overwhelming or cumbersome. Like, even if you talk of financial inclusion, many of the first reason why most people are not even included financially is they don't even understand the technology. I used to speak to a friend of mine in First Bank, and I told him about how do we localize technology first? Because literacy is one point. Without literacy, you often cannot even really utilize technology. Has it ever happened to you where you mistakenly changed your phone's language to, let's say, Chinese? And the same phone, yes, you don't even know how to use it anymore. So you are going to deal with literacy first before you start dealing with technology. But the easiest way to at least get everyone involved, especially women in rural areas and otherwise, is to first find a way to, break that barrier of both language, literacy, and technology.
Okay, so after getting women involved in all of this, or getting women in the rural areas, getting to teach them this literacy and all of that, how do we bridge the gap? How do we bridge this gender gap in technology? How do we bring it to a common ground where the men and the women have the equal right to play as they want, as long as the knowledge of the digital space,
ground for both men and women.
is concerned? Yes.
So I think development is, you have different facets, you have different stakeholders, but critically we need government intervention. There's the will. When government has the will to include everyone in society, then you have the private sector too that have a part to play. But private sector most times don't jump into areas where there are no incentives. I mean, they are for profits, clearly. So if there are no incentives, they don't see the need to really push for products or solutions or services that include women and all. But from an economic sense, it's like two hands. If you wash with two hands, the hands are cleaner. So if you have a society where 50% of the populace are not active in whatever sector, it could be electoral processes, it could be technology, it could be business, in quotes and unquote, you are doing yourself. If that's the word, you are doing yourself, because, I mean, if you have equal participation or greater participation, it means widespread development, and it also means, pushing development down to the grassroots, down to the areas where it should get to. And women, even in social settings, are like binders. They are binders, they are teachers, they are nurturers. So if you're trying to push technology mainstream, women
they need to be included.
They need to be included. If you look at most of the most followed people, even on social media, most of them are women. So it does society more good to see ways and avenues which women can really pioneer and push for advancements in technology.
So while you were talking, you made mention of the government. Now this is where my question comes in. Do you think the government is presently
doing
enough?
Really?
Okay, so I would not want to also, again, sometimes one of these things, there are different stakeholders. So sometimes government might be trying to push for certain policies, right? It might not favor certain markets or people or agendas. So, and considering our, let's say, cultural diversity, let's take Nigeria for an instance. If you say, not even cultural diversity per se, it's pace. So schools in certain areas of Nigeria tend to have certain infrastructures that can support technology, right? And some of these infrastructures, sadly, were not even built by government, by private sector participation. So that's why I talked about government will. So when private sector sees that will from government, in terms of policies, in terms of incentives, in terms of programs that can actually, help bring more women on board, maybe you would have greater participation from private sector, CSOs, NGOs, foreign donors, and so on.
But there has to be a willingness to work. I mean,
yes,
I
there
like
has to be a willingness.
Yeah,
yes.
that our candidate really does. He's pushing for more investment in the non-oil sector and a lot of technology, which really, it hits this point back home when you said financial inclusion, and it's very important for us to know that a lot of women are financially excluded. It's not
a great number of women. Because sorry to cut you. I know. Just recently, maybe some things are changing, but a lot more still needs to be done. Imagine you want to open an account as a military sole personnel. You need, signature. I mean, you're a human being. He's also a human being. You are an adult. He's an adult. So why do you need sort of like a signature or permission to even open an account? It doesn't really make economic or otherwise sense. So these are some of the issues.
Okay. So what are the social factors that actually limit women in the digital space?
Okay, so it's a thing of again, it's a thing of society. So the demographic determines what the limitations can be or might be. So some people see the internet or technology as a whole as something that is too, of course, they're good, they're bad. Yeah. So, but more of what is pronounced or what people push, bad news flies faster than good news. So it's the bad sides of, digital society that people tend to project, or the online bullying, internet fraud, and so on and so on. So propagandas and so on. So that's what people tend to focus on, but they forget the bigger picture, which is, not just economic advancement, because if not for the digital society, the level of literacy skill transfer that we've had in the last 10 to 2 to 3 decades would have been stifled. Because I, for one, I remember, let's say some 15, 20 years ago, you used to have these Lebanese guys, these foreigners coming. Not like it was a bad thing. I mean, they were trying to, help our banking sector and all that. But in the last 10 years or 15, you see a lot of, Nigerian unicorns leveraging on technology frameworks that government, because at the end of the day, government has a part to play, private sector has a part to play, and as citizens, we also have a part to play. So if government has the will, private sector invest the money, is now left for the citizens as well to, to take advantage of it. As many examples, the flutter waves and all that, they've taken advantage of that digital, society, and they've created products, services, and solutions for Nigerians, and in fact the world as it is.
So, we've seen movements like the NSAS movement emanate from the internet. We've also seen a candidate, I think I saw a female candidate who was able to raise funds. Yes, from the internet, leverage. How can we as women, try to get more representation in politics, how can we leverage on the opportunities or the prospects of technology to, get more visibility and really drive our message home?
So I think, it's about binding together, forming small groups and communities with a common purpose and goal, which is women leading and at the forefront. So it starts from the schools. Catch them young. Let that drive be instilled in them from the get-go. It's not when they're trying to deal with life's issues. You're running here, there. That's when you're trying to figure out rent. You're trying to figure out your MBA or something. Then you're also trying to catch up with technology. And technology is fast-paced. So for a lot of people, catching up is a problem, because by the time you're done learning HTML, there's something else. In fact, your WhatsApp, you update your WhatsApp today, and the next 3 days there's another update.
Oh, you just finished learning how to work Twitter today.
And tomorrow there's TikTok, and so you're trying to catch also. It's too much. So I think maybe in groups, maybe depend on the platforms, and the target audience, because for not Twitter, for an instance, not too many people, understand the workings of Twitter, but Facebook is a bit more. Open and easy to use. So it's understanding the demographic.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 AtikuLive 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 22 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1, the temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2, the people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3, the economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done.
Role technology has to play, and we're looking at this with Marshall Honoré. He's our guest today. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's pick up from where we stopped before we went on break. The active steps that women can take, in leveraging on, technology, particularly social media now in this case, to get more representation in, when it comes to politics.
Okay, so I think it's a two-way street. It's you spoke about access for people in the rural areas. So the reality is that they would need time to catch up. So it's about matching the digital strides and connecting it with the real world and the communities, right? So again, it starts with literacy. We have literacy in terms of reading and writing. We also have digital literacy. It's to start, and many times I see that children are more enthusiastic about it. Mm-hmm. Older folks just like, okay, if it works, don't bend it, just leave it, let it just keep going. But if we can catch these young ones, the teenagers, they can easily pass the message on to their parents. By the time they show, oh, mommy, look at this thing, look at this thing. Oh, you can do this, you can do this. They start seeing the value.
Is it about the generation? Because these parents at some point were also as eager, enthusiastic as these children, or is it that the method of learning is different?
Yes, I mean the method has changed. We had the jet age. Now this is the is it data age they call it.
Yeah.
So I think the methods change and the realities also change because the way we did business some 5 years ago has really changed post-COVID. It opened our eyes to new realities that you did not need to always move, place to place to attend interviews or take meetings or conduct business. So I think gradually we are realizing that the digital space is something that we cannot, it's inevitable. It will just happen. And it's already happening, even in terms of governance. I read, so is this Scotland or somewhere, they have a presidential candidate that is literally, does not exist as in human form, is an AI. Is going to run for an election. And AI is going to contest against a physical human candidate.
Wow.
Is going
to.
That's like even in politics. Yes,
now.
Against the backdrop. So even in politics, the law is changing. So so pretty much.
So how, if we're having AIs running really for presidency in some parts of the world, how can we as women, like we're in Nigeria now, how can we leverage on this technology? How can we, get more women? We're currently at what, 6.6%.
Yeah.
How can we get more women involved?
Even with AIs, there's still always human interference. So AIs learn from people. They don't fall from the sky. They learn from people. If we discuss wristwatches now, you can, in the next 30 minutes, you start seeing adverts around wristwatches. So if we push more of the message about women inclusion, participation, we will get even the AIs to start pushing information and content. So for women participation, again, I'm emphasizing on catching them young from the secondary, tertiary levels, because before in the next 5 years, these women are ready for leadership. They're equipped there, so it's easier to get them, and they can easily pull, their other women folk. There's a greater sense of, comradeship, right, from that generation than the older generation, because there are less biases, there are, sentiments and all that. Like, I have never had any preference for Muslim or Christian in terms of friendship. It's about the quality of your person and your character, right? But for the older folks, maybe, experiences and so on, they have this bias or that bias. A young person does not even have a problem whom to marry, regardless of tribe. Do you have sense? Okay, would you respect me? That's what they're looking out for. What's your economic potential? That's what they're looking out for. But for the older generation, not to castigate them, discredit them. No, of course, they've done fantastic. As much as we might want to say, oh, Nigeria is not where it is, I think we've made some strides, but there's a lot more that you can still do, to better the loss of women. And I'm happy that, the previous government before this current one had done a lot in terms of even most of the prominent names we know in politics.
I think the Obasanjo-led administration was
most of the prominent women I know personally in politics were from, it's a testament that there's a lot more that can be done, and at least the examples have been shown of what,
Okay, so bringing this down to 2023 elections, campaigns are starting very soon. By the end of September, we'll have political parties kickstart their campaigns. How do you think technology can be imbibed into the 2023 elections to work effectively?
Okay, I think messaging. So the simplest platform is the SMS. That's the most. I think that's like widespread. Yes, anywhere you are. But if you talk about Twitter, even sometimes I travel and I don't have digital like 4G and all that. I have to wait till I get back. But SMS is still connects. I think constant messaging would at least be a first step. So let these people know that they are remembered, they are known, and they are valued. So the messaging keeps coming. SMS is a very good platform that I think can work. Then, I think SMS should do phone lines.
SMS can reduce like campaign costs, as against doing the door-to-door, they can have SMS campaigns.
Like COVID has shown us, many times we don't need to sit physically. So the cost of moving from point to point, I also happen to be a community organizer for Ebano. So, and we've been able to achieve a lot in terms of community engagement without having to necessarily move people or resources from point to point. And we're having this constant engagement via Zoom, via Twitter, Twitter Spaces, Zoom meetings, and so on. So, and these people still connect with you because many times the physical presence does not really, it's the constant. So if you come today, then the next time you can come is another 3 years. But when you can engage with them, if it's weekly, if it's even monthly, you can even engage every day if you have the time. But if you have to do physical meetings, it's about a rural area having a connectivity setup and having sort of like a hall where the women can engage directly with
Right,
all the
so
stakeholders. And
sorry, let me just let them know our phone lines are open and our social media platforms are open. Please do well to send us your questions, and also we'll also be expecting your calls in the course of the show. So you can go ahead.
I was saying that I've been privileged to be part of, going down to the grassroots to meet with people in campaigning for good governance. And I remember one individual saying that all they needed, that, a lot of politicians come once every 4 years and talk to them and they go, that what they actually needed was communication. They needed these people to talk to them. And we understand the obvious restraints, by these key characters to go down, to every local government, across the entire Nigeria. And looking at it now from your own standpoint, I see what you're trying to say. We could also have things like virtual town hall where we engage people constantly. You think that is going to change the face of politics as we know it?
It's going to change not just the face, and it's going to build trust because there's a trust deficit in our polity. There's a trust deficit. So I can't. If I see you today and I see you in the next 4 years, I expect that you'd have changed. But if I engage with you on a regular, I know what you're doing, I know what you're up to, I know what your intentions are for me. It's like being in a relationship, romantic relationship. You want attention. You don't want to be called once in 4 years. You understand. You want there should be a feedback mechanism. You want to be able to reach your constituents, your people regularly. So it creates that. So you know what their pain points are at these regular intervals. So it's not every 4 years you know what their problem is, because in the last 6 months their problem would have been water. In the next 6 months it could have been security. In the next, but the fact that you don't engage, even your constituency office, it should just be a place for bookkeeping and records. But in terms of interactions, you can do that anywhere in the world.
I think, to be honest, I was a little surprised when the first time I saw Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very impressed. I was shocked. It means, there's an effort to reach across to people of every generation of, different, because at the end of the day, you're going to govern all these
everybody.
And so you need to find a way to carry them along across whatever platform or community that they are in.
So I think we have a few questions for you here. And first one says, how difficult is it to really understand how technology works?
How difficult? It depends on the platform. It depends on the technology you're speaking about. But also, like I mentioned, language. So if you look at, let's say, China, you can study up to PhD doctoral level in Mandarin. So there's no middleman. Yeah, there's no barrier where you need to first learn English before you learn to use technology, because technology is just centered around language mostly, right? So I think if there's a way for us to localize technology, right, maybe it will open up the field for more people to participate. So that's why I think in that regard.
So we have apps, financial apps, bank apps.
Yes, you have your bank app in Igbo. You go to maybe a branch in Inewi. There's a teller you can fill, in Igbo, the ATM. Although some institutions are doing it, but we need more of it. Yes,
I think that will actually.
I don't know if we have the constitution in local languages. I don't know if that's a thing. I'm not too sure. I can't speak authoritatively on that. But we need more of this thing. We need bills that are passed in local language so it can be disseminated to this place, so they understand. If you give the Electoral Act, for instance.
There are some people that have no understanding of.
They have even people that speak English have no proper understanding. Then imagine someone that does not even understand English that has to now understand the Electoral Act. So I think we need to get to the people, speak their language. We need to speak their language. I take religion, for an instance. Religion penetrated every nook and cranny. Why? Because of language. Yes. Yeah. So you have your Bible, you have your Quran in different languages, so you could accept religion at your own pace. And literacy, funnily, is not really about English. It's about knowing how to read and write. So if you can read and write in Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Calabar, whatever language it is, you're literate. So it's just that we focus more on, maybe because of the English is the economic language of the world. I understand that, but however, I think we still need to create our own realities, mold our own realities, and build our own platforms.
I like that you said that, because I mean I've seen a system recently, an Apple product that had it had, I think with a lot of products now too, the keyboard had in English and it had in Arabic. So yes. I mean, do we see some sort of partnership moving on where I mean it's still technology really, where we can have in different languages, Nigerian languages, local languages, that allows, I think it's going to promote digital literacy, because now if you have the keyboard...
Inclusion and literacy.
Yes, you have the keyboard in, say, Hausa or, Yoruba, then anybody on the street can pick a system and know what to do, how to type, how to send across their messages in their local languages.
I think we even have that in some of these religious bodies. We have some hymn books that are translated into Hausa.
Yes, of course, yes.
Yes.
I know some applications in Epic too.
Yeah, that have those applications. I feel if it's done that way, you give people the room to really understand
what you're trying to
the message you're trying to
So let me read on the next question. And he says, how much of government intervention have we really seen from government in terms of policies that would have really encouraged more women to partake in tech spaces?
Okay. Well, I think at least the first framework is, the GSM license. That was, I think that has opened up new opportunities, giving room for new innovations, right? But there's a thing about gender. I wouldn't call it gender bias anyway. I would just say, okay, for instance, if you think of a mechanic, you just think of a man. So let me call it...
well, it is gender bias.
Okay, it's gender bias. Okay, I agree with you then. So it's more of we need to shift our mindsets. There needs to be like a reorientation. We need to see everyone as human. It's not we're not trying to be equal. We're human. We all breathe. We all want the best out of life. We need to see everyone as human, and not whether male or female or or lesser or weaker and all that. So I think in terms of policies, again I say a lot more can be done. But when I say a lot more, I'm not just talking federal, because we have three. We have federal, we have state, and we have local government. So I believe each of these parties have a direct role to play. So if we just say, governments, when we say government, most times people think, it's just Abuja or it's just Aso Rock. But if federal government has a policy or a program that's targeted at women to advance the cause of women, and the state governors are not really playing their part, so there's a disconnect, and the local government is not playing their part.
We have several policies that have not been effected in some states.
In some states, but at federal level, so I think there needs to be a synergy, but it's better done from the grassroots. It's better done from ground up as opposed to, but of course, the federal government can give the direction and the resources as well, and the enabling environment and policies for the other stakeholders to thrive and push. So we can enact local laws. Locally, there are some organizations, private organizations, that took it upon themselves to say, we want greater participation of women, and they've been very deliberate about it. They've pushed for programs, they've created incentives. There are some banks that have specific products, financial products for women. There are some institutions that have specific, trainings and all that for women. So from a government perspective, they need to be more intentional. It's not just, it's not just talk. Let's see those policies, let's see those programs, let's see those platforms that give women unlimited and unrestricted access to opportunities and,
I mean, I like it when you say that some programs give women preferential treatments. The Alhaji Atiku Abubakar owns a bank in Adamawa State that gives women loans and gives them, I think 80% of loans goes out to women. So I think a lot of them can do more.
Give more concessions.
To do more to more. Let me ask this last question, right, before our time is fast spent, before we leave the studio. Let's look at INEC generally, and I'm very particular about the forthcoming 2023 elections. Aside from, I think we've moved from the normal paper voting to
technology.
With beavers.
With beavers to e-voting and the rest of it. What do you think INEC can do more to beef up? I don't want to use the word security, but what can INEC do in terms of electoral process and voting units and all of that? What can be done to make sure that this 2023 elections is done smoothly and it's a free and fair election?
Okay, so I think yesterday
Let's look at polling units, for
polling
example.
units, yeah. So I think from my own maybe personal insight or experience, so many times polling units are seen as possible trigger points that anything can happen.
Yeah.
So for society, we feel men, can go out. Then most women are asked to stay back home because of fear of possible violence. Can you run? You have to carry a child, or sometimes because we ground economic activities whenever we have to vote. In some other places, you can go to a polling booth, vote, and go back to work. But here is like...
I mean, we saw that in Kenya.
Yes. So here is like you have to shut down the economy nights before, then throughout that day till the next day. So, and if you're going to shut down the economy, people are going to be home. Women are said to be caregivers. Most times that's how the, disenfranchisement starts. Yeah, they have children at home to take care of. So, okay, let daddy go to polling booths, stay at home. Or in case something happens, we don't want you to get, hurt. So in terms of easing the process of voting, again, technology is very, 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 very critical, key in, creating that framework to allow more people to be part of the process. I give an instance. We have BVNs, we have NINs, we have all these things, and you're taking the fingerprint here, you're taking it there, you're taking it everywhere. The same information repeated, over and over. Why don't we find a way to synergize all this info and make it very seamless? It should be you shouldn't spend seconds. It's just like people like we attended an event yesterday, an EU program on governance support, and yes, IG also was there. So we learned a lot of insights, and we're talking about, I think one of the speakers, is it Dr. Joe?
Dr. Joe Abba.
Dr. Joe Abba did speak about, the ease. If we can make it very easy, knowing that, okay, even if I have a family at home take care of on election day, I can just go vote 30 minutes and I'm back.
So, I'm sorry to cut you short. I think I'll have to probably rephrase my question. In polling units, right? What deliberate steps can INEC take to make sure we have a smooth sale of the election, smooth voting process in terms of security, using some of these ICT gadgets or using some of the technological gadgets?
Okay. So first off, I think every citizen with a smartphone is an eyewitness, right?
So we have citizens reports.
Yeah, citizens report. I think that's the first step, citizens report. And maybe secondly would be, I have not been part of planning, so maybe I cannot speak on some areas, but I think first off, me looking out for you, you looking out for me. CCTV, they can be deployed, but let's rely on, because if I watch your back, you watch my back, everywhere is, safe, and less in terms of security, because sometimes too misinformation can trigger unease, can get people agitated. Yes,
the internet for the wrong reasons.
So those things can trigger violence, because I mean this other polling unit, and I'm hearing is not even factual. It's one old video from 10 years ago. Somebody's pulling up and saying, oh, this party or that party is doing this and that and that. And it could just be something else. And before you know, violence has erupted. So I think what government INEC also can do is to quickly fact check and stay on the digital space. Stay on the digital space and fact check whatever claims or are being dished out, from results to activities at the polling unit. But however, the responsibility rests on all of us to look out for each other and protect our votes.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's been a great time with you here at the studio. I think this is the most we can take forward to this episode. Yeah. And IJ, I think we're going to actually put that into practice. We have to increase the time of today's Every Woman's Show. Okay, this is the most we can take for today's episode. Please do well to send us your comments and your tweets, your recommendations and suggestions to our social media handles that are displayed right now on your screen. A big thank you to you, Mr. Marshall,
thank you for
being
having
our
me.
guest here on today's episode.
Thank you. I have to join you again.
We hope to have you again.
All right, guys, until we meet again same time tomorrow, please be safe out there. My name is Tiana Walpasi. I'll see you guys same time tomorrow.
And my name is Ijama Odumodo. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.